Hello, everybody, and welcome to Right Here, Right Now, live Buffalo football talk presented by Forefathers Organics. I'm your host, Alex Brasky, alongside my co host, Ajay Cybulski, here for the Batavia Daily and Livingston County News. Each week, we'll discuss Buffalo's favorite football team, along with all the comings and goings from Orchard Park and our final day here in Rochester, New York at Bill's training camp. A bittersweet day. AJ back home. I enjoyed his final day on Wednesday. The team's final day today on Thursday, getting prepared for that first preseason game coming up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So before we get into it, let's thank our sponsor, Forefathers Organics.
Unlock the power of nature with Forefathers Organics, your premium CBD store. We offer the highest quality CBD and hemp products to liberate your mind, body, and soul, helping you live happy and free. Our mission is driven by excellence and transparency, using cutting-edge scientific methods to combat stress and target issues at their source. From potent ingestible CBD to soothing topicals, all our products are USDA certified organic. Discover all natural wellness from farm to table. Visit forefathersorganics.com for more information.
All right, AJ, our conversation today begins with the upcoming preseason game and Sean McDermott revealing during today's pre-practice press conference that Josh Allen and many of the Bills starters will take the field on Saturday at 1 p.m. at Highmark Stadium. Also, Bears rookie quarterback Caleb Williams also expected to play. It's not certain how long we'll see each team's starting unit. I would expect about a quarter for Allen and company. I think that's what McDermott said during his press conference. But you wrote a story on his comments on the dailynewsonline.com for anybody who wants to check that out. Why don't you just give us a quick recap of what McDermott went through in his pre-practice presser and an outlook for the game coming up on Saturday?
Yeah, nice little afternoon matinee podcast of Right Here, Right Now. So I think a little bit earlier than maybe a couple of the other episodes. Obviously, a short practice today. So Alex was able to get his takeaways out a little bit early, and I was able to get the press conference, takeaways kind of done a little bit early as well. So it was a nice early edition of Right Here, Right Now. So thank you all for tuning in today. But yeah, I am looking forward to this preseason game with the Bears. I think Caleb Williams and Josh Allen, in August, you can't really ask for much more. McDermott spoke to the media prior to practice today and addressed that the Bills will play their starters roughly a quarter. They're excited to get out there on the field, play in front of the fans at Highmark Stadium. The competition's been heating up at camp with all the going against each other for 3 straight weeks or whatever the case is. It takes a lot on you. And you've seen a couple of scuffles. Obviously, Alec Anderson in there a lot. He's been a guy that's been all over the place involved with these scuffles. But McDermott just talked about Allen's kind of, his ability to be accurate this training camp and how he's really come along in terms of precision and accuracy and just his footwork mechanics, how he's bought in really to what they're doing. And then another comment, which again, and I'll get right to it with this, is your tweet about how McDermott is proud of the wide receiver room in terms of how unselfish they are. And I believe that, again, that goes back to the fact of the Stephon Diggs thing, where I think Stephon Diggs overall made them a better football team in terms of pure talent, right, on the field. The pure talent wise, there's not much better you could get than Stephon Diggs over the past 4 years in the National Football League. There might not even be better because he was a consistent 100 cut plus guy each year and hit over 1,000 yards each season on top of, consistently making big plays and big moments, especially during the regular season. Postseason was a little bit of a struggle for Diggs. But you look at how this Bills receiver room has really bought into what they're doing, and I think the unselfishness that they're using, I think it's just, again, a different vibe. And I think it's a clear indicator that what Diggs, although his talent was great, what Diggs brought to this team, maybe there was more, not maybe more of a negative, but there was a negative impact enough to, these comments keep happening throughout camp. And I think it's clear as day what they're trying to say is we're using a team approach. That's kind of the goal. We want everyone to get targets. It doesn't matter about who's getting targeted. This guy doesn't need 10 targets a game or whatever the fact may be. And again, that goes along with the philosophical shit that the Bills are undergoing right now, because a lot of teams in this league, that's what they do, right? They have these number one guys, these bona fide number one players that get, 10 plus targets a game. Travis Kelce, very implemented. Justin Jefferson, very implemented. But with what the Bills are doing, they're going with that holistic style approach with using all these guys. I think it's a philosophical switch. And I think that also plays a part to the comments and why they seem the way they are, because I think they're also just changing the approach they've wanted to. They've gone away from what they wanted to do the past 4 years in terms of this season. So it's really interesting to me, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this wide receiver unit. But all in all, starters, a good start for them for on Saturday. That they didn't play last year. Allen at least didn't play in the first game last year, so we'll see what happens.
And McDermott also updated some injuries that the Bills have incurred over the past several days, and all those injuries checked out as I went through attendance on the practice field. Those who did not participate on Thursday included defensive tackle Daequan Jones, who missed his third straight practice with a groin injury. And we know that he's struggled to stay on the field consistently for the Bills. He's had no shortage of production, but the problem with Jones has been being on the field, especially in key situations. A couple of years ago, he was out for the playoff game, and last year missed much of the season after an early season injury. Mac Hollins also missed his first training camp practice with a leg injury, and then others that were out included safety Mike Edwards with a hamstring injury, Cole Bishop with a shoulder injury, linebacker Nicholas Moreau with a core/groin injury, wide receiver Chase Claypool with a toe injury, running back Ty Johnson with a hamstring injury, offensive lineman Travis Clayton with a shoulder injury, linebacker Edifon Ulofoshio with a ribs injury, edge rusher Casey Toohill with a groin injury, and wide receiver Justin Shorter with a knee injury. McDermott reported that all players enduring those injuries are unlikely to suit up and play on Saturday for Chicago. It did seem as we have Hall of Famer Vic Carucci entering the media workroom here at St. John Fisher University and Dorsey Hall. Johnson, Claypool, and Ulofoshio appear to be making the most progress of the bunch as their work seems to have increased continuously over the past several days while working off to the side with athletic trainers. But as far as the on-field action was concerned, Marquez Valdes-Scantling continuing his recent ascent on offense. Josh Allen spoke about how they kind of got off to a slow start due to his late arrival during the offseason. But after that slow start to training camp and maybe a couple of concerning drops for MVS, he's really come on in recent days and had his catch of training camp today. A bomb down the right sideline, Josh Allen, a high-arching pass, put it over the defender, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling able to use that straight-line speed to run by that defender along the right sideline and come down with the catch. I think it would have been a touchdown. Either way, a big gain for those two. And that's what you brought MVS in for, that deep threat ability, that straight line speed, and starting to exhibit that on the practice field at St. John Fisher University.
Yeah, it took 11 whole days on the final day of camp for finally MVS to kind of be utilized in the way I thought they would use him. Now, again, I don't know how much that's going to be prevalent during the season. I think he makes the roster, Alex. I'm still not totally sure, but we'll see how preseason shakes out. I think we'll get a better understanding of how they think MVS kind of sits in the wide receiver pecking order. But overall, too much around MVS. I'm not trying to downplay it, but I think he's a field stretcher. Like you said, what he did today, beating Christian Benford on the boundary with a straight line speed, stretching the field, maybe being used as a decoy in this Bills offense with Joe Brady. Again, I think he'll be a rotational receiver on this team with Mac Hollins and Keon Coleman still on the boundary they use. They'll put Curtis Samuel out there. Who knows what they'll do with the tight end. So there's a lot of players that need playing time that will see snaps. So it'll be interesting to see where MVS fits in if he does make the team, which I, at this point, believe he does. But, I'm looking forward to MVS's usage in this offense. I think he'll be a field stretcher, kind of a decoy to maybe free some things up underneath, especially if teams are using that cover 2 high shell that a lot of defenses do use against this Bills offense. I think the threat of MVS maybe splitting the middle of those 2 safeties or maybe taking the priority of one safety away to free up something else on the other half of the field. There's a lot you can do with MVS in terms of, just being a distraction because of his speed and ability to scare defenses at the third level of the defense. But yeah, all in all, inconsistent camp for MVS. But again, Allen spoke about it post-practice yesterday. He was kind of brought in a little late, so they worked him in during OTAs a little bit later than usual. Not as many reps as compared to other receivers on the roster that Allen has worked with. And it seems like now, finally on the last day of camp, there is some chemistry and some connection building between the former Kansas City Chief and Josh Allen.
It's been a few moments, AJ, where your audio is kind of disappeared for a second. Maybe I don't know if it's you got a notification on or something. It's taking you down. It hasn't been long standing, but I don't know if there's anything you can do there. Moving on, another offensive player making his push to lock up a roster spot. It does seem as if MVS's roster spot is pretty much secure, but certainly needing to continue to put these good plays on display to lock down a contributing role come the regular season. But another offensive player making his push to lock up a roster spot, Quentin Morris. He's been a mainstay on this roster the past number of years. We all know his special teams contribution. He's made a couple of catches along the way, but not too much offensive production. But he's not going away in this battle for the team's role as the third tight end. Zach Davidson, a hot name during camp, and rightfully so. His pass catching ability has been put on display day after day. Great size for Davidson and a great personality as well. But Morris has gone tit for tat for Davidson, particularly over the past week, proving that he's a capable pass catcher as well as a capable special teams player. He might not be as flashy or as well sized as a Zach Davidson, but I think his presence on this roster the past few years certainly speaks volumes in terms of his quest to make this roster. I think it'd be hard pressed for the Bills not to keep him on the roster. I think if Zach Davidson makes it, it would be because the Bills keep 4 tight ends.
Yeah, I don't see really a path right now unless Davidson has a career preseason performance where he's consistently winning. I think Quentin Morris's ability as a special teams guy and what they kind of rely on him in the run blocking game at times. I wouldn't say a lot, but they do at times want to bring him in if Dawson Knox needs a blow or if Dalton Kincaid needs a blow. I think they do trust Quentin Morris. So I don't know. That's the decision that Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane, they're going to have to make in terms of do they really want to believe in a guy, Zach Davidson, former 5th rounder, a high RAS guy, which means very athletic, a very high RAS player, drafted to Minnesota, was an all-pro punter at the college level. So maybe there's they haven't really worked with Davidson at all in terms of the special team side of things, but maybe there is with the new kickoff rule something that Davidson could maybe help there. I don't know if there's any avenue for that, but who knows where that goes, if anything. But I think right now with Morris has the leg ahead because of the trust they have with him, and that's what McDermott and Beane are going to have to balance out. The experience of Morris and what they know he is versus maybe the capability of Zach Davidson and what he could be. Do they believe in that enough to value Davidson's potential over what they know they have in Morris? In years past, you think that McDermott and Beane go with a person that has shown that they can trust him and he's been a reliable person on this roster. But with Davidson's upside, maybe they do take a risk and keep the former 5th rounder.
Spoke with rookie edge rusher Javon Solomon after practice today, and he really gave an insightful about 2.5 minute interview and made a comment that I was really interested in as someone who isn't really in tune with the inner workings of edge rushing. He says that the eyes are really key for an edge rusher. He said the eyes take you to your keys and the keys take you to the ball. And he said one of the biggest improvements he's made throughout training camp is his eyes and where his eyes are placed before the play, during the play, and upon pursuit. Also, he says his mentality has really improved as he's entered the pros, and just his work with like a Von Miller, a Greg Rousseau, and AJ Epineza, 3 players who have been around the system and been around the NFL for quite some time, has really helped him ingratiate himself into this system. And he also spoke on his undersized nature and just how that's not necessarily prohibitive for a pass rusher. He says that's kind of a misconception amongst people that you got to be big, long, and huge and strong in order to rush the passer. He says no. At the end of the day, it's football is football, and he seems to be relying on that athletic ability and that burst and that technique to carry him through to some solid practices here at St. John Fisher University.
Yeah, Javon Solomon really has maybe, I wouldn't say inked himself into that DN5 role behind Dwayne Smoot, but I think
I think he has.
Right. So what I think he's shown, especially the Casey Toolhill injury now, he's on the injury report and likely not to play Saturday. So that's another guy that is competing for that role. Kingsley Jonathan's been a guy that's been in Buffalo for a few years, but with every opportunity, it really doesn't feel like he's shown enough per se for the Bills to show.
I think he's had a solid camp. I've looked at him and written him in my notebook quite a few times, Kingsley Jonathan. I would say Solomon has that 5th DN role locked up in terms of where he was drafted this year. But Kingsley Jonathan making that roster last year, I think he's another one kind of in contention for that role.
Yeah, especially with the experience he has in the defense and what they ask of, you know, those DN5, DN6s in a rotation role. I think Jonathan has that experience, maybe a little bit of special teams ability too. So I think with the eyes of Solomon, that's interesting because it is true at every level of a defense. If your eyes as a linebacker are in the wrong spot, right, especially at the NFL level, you can get beat in the split of a second. If you're lining up against Xavier Worthy for the Chiefs or a speedster, and your eyes are in the wrong spot, you're screwed because that half a second that your eyes are not in the right spot could totally cost, you know, a blown coverage or, you know, a guy with speed to get in space, and that the rest is history. So I think it's cool to see that Javon Solomon, an undersized guy, maybe not talking about like, oh, I feel like I'm getting better physically and I'm playing, you know, even though I'm smaller, I feel like I'm playing above my size. He's talking about things that are not really in terms of his undersized body. He's really talking more about what he does as a pass rusher in terms of the things you can't really teach, which is having your eyes in the right spot, knowing where to be, and understanding, you know, the end goal for an edge rusher in this league. That's very important. And I think a lot of, you know, defensive ends have a lot of success using their eyes, using their body, obviously, to manipulate offensive linemen. And I think, again, it's important that Javon Solomon continues to be dependable throughout the preseason and makes the most of his opportunities, because I think, again, he could play a minor role on this defense and maybe be a pass rush specialist per se, and maybe make some quality plays for this team. And I think they need that. They need someone to step up besides an Epinesa, Rousseau, and Von Miller. So it would be nice for a Solomon and a Daequan Smoot to maybe make an impact, and we'll see what they can do with limited snaps.
Another rookie that made an impact today and has really come on as of late. We've talked about him recently, the big play during the return of the blue and red, and then followed that up on Wednesday, I believe, with another big play. Daequan Hardy continues to impress, working with the first team defense at times today as a slot corner during team drills. Hardy's recorded a couple of impressive interceptions throughout training camp, and he just continues to make plays on the ball. Coupled with his special teams ability, I think Hardy's defensive performance throughout camp is continuing to increase his value within Buffalo's secondary. And listen, there's so much changeover within that cornerback position and everybody vying for their role. There's been a lot of talk about Kaiir Elam. Obviously, you have the two rocks at the top of the depth chart and Rasul Douglas and Christian Benford, but so much left to be decided at the back half of that depth chart. You have a Jamarcus Ingram who's been around and seems to be getting rave reviews from his teammates and coaches, but Daequan Hardy with that special teams ability and now showing ability on defense, really making a play for a contributing role here. And before AJ responds about Daequan Hardy, a quick word from our sponsor, Forefathers Organics.
Unlock the power of nature with Forefathers Organics, your premium CBD store. We offer the highest quality CBD and hemp products to liberate your mind, body, and soul, helping you live happy and free. Our mission is driven by excellence and transparency, using cutting-edge scientific methods to combat stress and target issues at their source. From potent ingestible CBD to soothing topicals, all our products are USDA certified organic. Discover all natural wellness from farm to table. Visit forefathersorganics.com for more information.
All right, AJ, Daequan Hardy, go.
Yeah, I think he's for a 5'9" player, he definitely plays above his size. I don't feel like you look at him and when you see him go up against these wide receivers during camp, I don't think you're like, oh my God, he's absolutely getting mossed every time, or he's too tiny. I mean, he's got over a 40-inch vertical, so that all the athletic traits are there for the guy that for an undersized guy to make it in this league. And again, he seems like up to this point, another day 3 guy in the secondary that maybe can make a contribution as soon as year one. I think they like Hardy. I think they've given him a lot of opportunity. They've trusted him in multiple spots. In college, I bookmarked it really quick. Let me find it because it's good stuff. Regarding Daequan Hardy's like snap share at the college level at Penn State, because again, I'm saying that the Bills trust him. It seems in multiple spots on the boundary, in the slot, and as a punt returner, so that versatility as well. But Daequan Hardy snaps in 2023 at Penn State, 228 in the slot, 125 outside, 28 in the box, 25 on the line, 25 on the D line outside the tackle, and 13 at free safety.
So much more versatile than a lot of people may have thought when he was drafted.
Correct. So, and that's from Anthony Cover One. He, put those stats together. So I thought that was a good, kind of Prohaska. good thing to put together. So yeah, I really like his versatility. I think that's translating from what you've seen, Alex, to the NFL training camp, at least, and maybe at the NFL level. And I really think at this point, there's a better chance that he makes the roster than doesn't. And I'd be pretty shocked if he's not on the final 53-man roster, just with the versatility on the defensive side of the ball, the consistency, the splash plays, and the punt returning ability. I think all in all, he's just a very good player, and he's been a great addition so far for this defense in terms of depth.
Yeah, I think he's almost a shoo-in to be the Bills' punt returner at this time, to be honest with you. I don't think Andy Isabella is going to warrant a roster spot. And good afternoon, Robert Wilson. We are enjoying our day. We will enjoy our weekend. AJ, I'm sure, has can jam, softball, basketball.
No, basketball, we're done. Can jam is only once a year, and
Okay.
soccer, we're done too. So
Okay.
I'm done with all of it.
All right, so the rec sports are done. Off season for AJ's athletic exploits. As I look through the window here in the media room, it's like a pilgrimage of St. John Fisher staff members. All the staff members in the orange shirts that you saw at training camp, just making their way down the sidewalk here, walking to their cars. Just another sign that training camp's over. Such a bittersweet sight to see. By around day 8, day 9, I'm pretty much ready for training camp to be over. But once it is over, you kind of look back and you remember what you once had. You know, AJ?
You remember what you once had, and maybe they're making their way down to Dogtown. Maybe they're taking a trip to Dogtown, get some garbage plates.
Yeah, you and I went to Dogtown yesterday. Absolutely phenomenal, as always. Great service, great food, great environment, just phenomenal all around. If you don't like garbage plates, to be quite honest with you, I question your sanity as a human being. I'm not sure how many people don't like a good cheeseburger, mac salad, also delicious, and then to throw potatoes into the mix. I think the thing that freaks everybody out is the meat sauce. But hey, if you don't want the meat sauce, get it without the meat sauce. But the meat sauce is delicious. It may look like slop, but if you dig into it and try it for once and don't scare yourself away from trying something new, I think everybody would enjoy the garbage plate.
Yeah, I have a confession, Alex. So that was the first time I've been to Dogtown twice. I did not get meat sauce in the previous 2 garbage plates, but I'm like, wait, I'm getting a hot dog with meat sauce on it, right? Because I got that hot dog with the cheddar.
Was it better with the meat sauce?
It was better with the meat. That's what I was getting to.
There you go.
I was going to say I loved every second of it with the meat sauce. I will never not have the meat sauce on it ever again. It was,
and you also got a hot dog on the side. AJ really packing it in yesterday.
Yeah. I love their hot dogs, and it's not like a normal hot dog bun, right? It's like bread toasted, nice and a lot of bread on there with the perfect amount of cheese, meat sauce, stacked on there with a bunch of stuff. So yeah, Dogtown was a treat, and I'm glad we got to go before, because I know we planned early in camp, but I think it was better as a kind of a send off to kind of celebrate a long couple weeks and all the content we put together. I think it was a good kind of wrap up of a successful training camp for the Batavia Daily News and myself and Alex.
Yeah, my send off today, I'm gonna go enjoy a nice meal at Red Rochester, best restaurant in Rochester. Half scallop order, margarita pizza. Truly can't beat it. I'll be there. Probably, I think they may open at 4. I don't think they're open for lunch, so might have to wait a little while. But that will be my send off for training camp. I've experienced a lot of the good sights and culinary visits throughout Rochester. Pittsford Dairy, I had a nice chocolate cone earlier in the week, a nice bone-in ribeye at Vern's on Ave. It was absolutely phenomenal. I posted it on Twitter. I just wanted everybody to know how beautiful it was. But yeah, a lot of good times in Rochester this week, the past week, and I'll be back out here soon enough. And excuse me, you as well, when high school sports coverage starts to kick up. So that won't be our last garbage. But getting back to the action on the field, I have one more item to discuss, AJ. Baylon Spector continued to make plays today. He's been working in with the second team alongside Dorian Williams, and he had a pass breakup on a ball intended for wide receiver Brian Thompson. And Spector has been impressive when he's been on the field with the Bills since being drafted, and I think he had some momentum before he went out with that injury a few years ago. But as I keep saying, those injuries are very difficult for him in terms of his quest to solidify a contributing role and gain a footing in his professional career. If he can stay healthy, I think he's going to be the team's fourth linebacker. It's just a matter if he can stay healthy. And I think that's also a tough proposition to rely on a Baylon Spector to make it through an entire season healthy in case you have a Matt Milano go down before the playoffs and you need somebody to fill in that role. So Baylon Spector's injuries continue to be a concern for me, but I like what I've seen from him throughout training camp.
Yeah, and we have to remember that Baylon Spector was in the competition for the starting middle linebacker spot, albeit short, but last training camp. So they obviously
before that injury, right? I think it was
correct.
Before the injury.
Right. So the Bills clearly believe that he's a guy that has the ability to play at the NFL level. And with the injuries, and you go back, they signed Nicholas Moreau, they signed Deion Jones. I thought Deion Jones just had a better camp than Moreau. Jones, obviously, the interception at the blue and red scrimmage.
Moreau's been hurt a lot. He's been in and out of vet rest days, and now the core groin injuries. So
yeah, there's. I think with maybe I'm not saying that I know this is what Bean did, but Bean probably assessed the linebacker position. I think with the uncertainty of Spector in terms of injuries and how he's not been able to stay on the field, you go and add 2 veterans just to make sure that if you do lose a Spector during camp or Spector does not perform to the level that you thought he was capable of, that you can rely on the veterans that have done it in this league. It'll be interesting to see how that linebacker room, shakes out. I think Ulofoshio, Adafuan Ulofoshio. I think I got that right.
Finally, that might be 1 for about 50 since he was drafted.
Well, I'm gonna be 2 for 51, 3 for 53, and onward. So Adafuan Ulofoshio.
I think he just screwed it up there. So back to 1 for 51 or 2. Yeah.
But he's another interesting piece of this linebacker room. I thought he flashed during the blue and red scrimmage, a couple nice run stops near the goal line. So I think each linebacker has made some plays. I think Spector's consistency on the field and just being healthy, I think gives him a leg up right now for maybe a spot on the final 53 man. But that'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. Moreau, Jones, what will they show in preseason? They're guys that have done it in this league, have had the production, and I'm intrigued to see how that linebacker depth room shakes out. I think Dorian Williams is, I wouldn't say the sure-handed linebacker 3, but I'm pretty confident that he's the guy. If a Bernard went down or a Milano went down, especially, that Williams would be the guy to fill in for one of those 2. So we'll see what happens.
All right, AJ, that's going to do it. Another relatively short pod here as we had on Monday, inside 30 minutes. The Bills return to Orchard Park and prepare for their upcoming matchup with the Bears on Saturday. Kickoff at 1 p.m. It will be broadcast nationally on NFL Network and on CBS affiliates in the Buffalo and Rochester TV markets. So, AJ, any last words?
Yeah, looking forward to the Bears game. I mean, obviously, it's very exciting getting to play the number 1 overall pick, a guy that's been really highly respected coming out of the league, and a guy, I think a controversial player in terms of mentality and how he's handled things. But I think in terms of pure football talent, a guy that you want to see, especially in a preseason matchup. I mean, that's pretty cool for Buffalo Bills fans to get to see Caleb Williams in his first NFL action, even though it's preseason.
For sure.
You look at their offensive line; they've been pretty banged up. So we'll see how long Caleb Williams is out there. The additions of Keenan Allen, Remo Odunze, another guy that Bills fans kind of wanted pre-draft, the guy that maybe they thought Brandon Beane would go and swing for the fences and overhaul and trade a lot of draft capital to get a Remo Odunze. That did not happen. But so they got a 3-headed monster with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Remo Odunze. Obviously, Tremaine Edmonds is there, the former Bills middle linebacker, so he returns to Orchard Park. And then on the Bills side, you'll get to see the offense for a quarter. So let's pray for no more injuries. Everyone stays healthy. We get to see a Josh Allen-led offense with a bunch of new pieces and a defense called by, Bobby Babich, who's, that was announced today as well. Bobby Babich calling plays. So I think that'll be interesting to watch. And then you go to the depth pieces on the Bills, and there's a lot of intriguing names that we've covered here on Right Here, Right Now. Zach Davidson, Baylon Spector, Terrell Shavers. What's he going to do? So there's a lot of names in the bubble right now that I think we can get a good feel for on Saturday. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and it was just posted on Twitter by Brad Biggs that Caleb Williams will start Saturday afternoon at Buffalo, and Matt Eberflus, Bears head coach's quote was, "We want to see a good flow and rhythm to it," but he wouldn't detail a general play count. Said all the starters on the Bears that are available are playing. And finally, one more question from John Robert. Because of injuries, I wonder if Moreau will be on the 53. I think it's trending toward no. He just has not been out there often enough, nor when he is out there has he made any plays. So that's going to do it for us on Right Here, Right Now. First, let us thank our friends from Forefathers Organics.
Unlock the power of nature with Forefathers Organics, your premium CBD store. We offer the highest quality CBD and hemp products to liberate your mind, body, and soul, helping you live happy and free. Our mission is driven by excellence and transparency, using cutting-edge scientific methods to combat stress and target issues at their source. From potent ingestible CBD to soothing topicals, all our products are USDA certified organic. Discover all natural wellness from farm to table. Visit forefathersorganics.com for more information.
All right, AJ, bidding Rochester adieu. We'll see you next time.
Peace out.